at the county stakes, 400,000 eyes fixed on the starting gate. Oil heir Brandon Hale leaned low over Centella, the brown thoroughbred he'd poured a fortune into. He expected a victory. The horse beneath him had different plans. The gates crashed open. Centella surged, her stride devouring dirt. 2 furlongs in, the filly planted her front legs and whiplashed her spine without warning. His voice cut through the roar. No! Centella did not stop. She left the field and veered straight toward the public fence. A lone figure leaned there, a boy in a stained gray hoodie, hands tight on the rail. The horse reached him and pressed her muzzle to his cheek. The moment the boy's hand touched her neck, a folder slid from under the blue saddle blanket. The boy's breath caught. What? 6 months earlier, that same boy had been the only one who could soothe the high-strung filly.
Easy, girl. You are safe with me. Always have been.
Then the owner strode in, gripping a brown glass bottle between his fingers like a cigar. This goes into her before the race. Half the dose, under her tongue.
I know what that is. I am not giving it to her.
You think you know better than me? Fine. You are done. Get out.
I am sorry. I am so sorry.
He walked out without looking back, the duffel digging into his shoulder, and the horse who trusted him was left alone with a man who saw her only as an engine to be revved. That was the day the boy lost everything, and the day the secret was buried under a blue saddle blanket. 2 nights after he was fired, Jacob Reyes crept back into the stable's veterinary office. He found the filing cabinet and slid out the drawer marked Centella. The file was thick. The term Energy Max appeared again and again, logged by the owner's order.
2 years of doping. I was right to refuse.
He fed the pages into the photocopier, the machine buzzing to life in the dark.
If I hide the originals where no one looks, someday someone will have to listen.
In the tack room, he slipped the folder under Centella's blue saddle blanket, smoothing it flat. He walked out before dawn, the secret pressed against his ribs. For 6 months, the blanket hung on its rack, the truth sleeping beneath. The boy waited, not knowing if the horse would deliver the proof. Race day broke warm. Leo Oakes, the old groundskeeper, met Jacob at the service gate while the crowd still streamed in.
I ain't supposed to let you in, but I remember what you tried to do for that horse.
Thank you, Mr. Oakes. I just need to see her run.
He slipped through the crowd to the public rail and watched the paddock. A handler lifted the blue saddle blanket onto Centella's back.
You've got the proof, girl. Just get through the race.
Brandon Hale vaulted into the saddle and adjusted his stirrups, never glancing toward the fence. Let's make this quick. I've got a bet to collect. Jacob bowed his head, hands white-knuckled on the rail, and whispered one word. The field loaded into the gate. 6 sleek shapes, pounding hearts, and 1 secret folded flat against a horse's spine. The bell screamed. The track exploded into thunder. Centella broke clean and stretched into the lead, her stride a liquid promise. But at the half-mile pole, her ears flicked back. She shortened against the bit, as if a frequency only she could feel had cut through the roar. What are you doing? Move! Then her forelegs locked. Her spine coiled like a spring under too much pressure. The first buck unseated his right iron. The second sent him cartwheeling into the dirt. Centella stood trembling for one breath, empty stirrups slapping her flanks. She turned her head toward the grandstand, toward one boy frozen at the rail. Then she bolted. Not toward the finish, but across the infield, straight for the public barrier.
No. No, no. Come on, girl. Come on.
The grandstand erupted in confused shouts. The race was over, but something far stranger had just begun. Centella skidded to a halt at the rail, heaving, and pressed her muzzle into the boy's open palms.
It's okay, girl. I am here. I am right here.
The boy rested his forehead against her star, and for a moment the chaos around them went mute. Then the crowd noticed. From under the blue blanket, a manila corner had been working free for 6 months. It slipped completely, and the folder dropped. It hit the dirt with a dry thud that seemed louder than the canceled race. The grandstand fell silent. Lenses swung toward the boy.
It's out. Now everyone will know.
Brandon Hale scrambled upright 50 yards away, his green silk smeared with track dust, his face twisted from confusion to fury. What the hell is that? And in that suspended breath, a 14-year-old boy who'd been invisible to the world became the only one holding the truth. Brandon Hale charged across the dirt, shoving past a track medic. His eyes locked on the fallen folder.
Give me that. That's not yours, you little...
Jacob snatched the folder from the dirt and pressed it against his chest, his body shielding Centella's leg.
Look inside, please. There's proof in here.
3 track officials cut between them, and a woman in a sharp blazer stepped forward, badge glinting on her belt.
I am Marion Corbin, Racing Commission. Step back, Mr. Hale, unless you want a federal obstruction charge.
She took the folder from the boys' shaking hands and held it up to the sun, her expression unreadable.
This is absurd. A disgruntled kid plants some nonsense, and you are treating it like gospel.
Then you won't mind if I verify.
She opened the cover, and the first page, a treatment log dated 18 months prior, turned Brandon Hale's face to ash.
Energy Max administered per owner's directive. No medical necessity. Dated March of last year.
A murmur rolled through the grandstand as the words reached the press box.
That's forged. Someone planted that to ruin me.
And another, Energy Max dosage raised to 15 milliliters, administered post-race. Veterinary signature matches the clinic.
Brandon Hale's protest died in his throat. He stared at the folder as if it were a coiled snake.
Secure Mr. Hale. Impound this horse. She stays under official supervision.
2 officials took Brandon by the arms and led him toward the steward's tower.
Where are you taking her? She needs me.
She'll be safe. You have my word. But right now you are both witnesses, and I need you to come with me.
A groom took Centella's reins, and for the second time in his life, Jacob Reyes watched her walk away into unknown hands. The steward's tower office smelled of old coffee and rulebooks. Marion Corbin sat across from the boy, the folder open between them.
Start from the beginning. Who are you, and why did that horse come to you?
My name is Jacob Reyes. I raised her from a yearling. I was her groom until Brandon Hale fired me for saying no to that poison.
You've been holding this folder for 6 months? Why risk everything now?
I didn't plan for today. I just hoped, if she ever felt me near, she'd let the world know something was wrong.
He told her everything. The confrontation, the veterinary files, the photocopier in the dark, sliding the folder under the blanket.
You understand this could bring down powerful people. Are you prepared for what comes next?
I am not scared for me. I am scared for Centella. She's all I've got.
An official investigation is now open. You and your family will be placed under protective custody until further notice.
By nightfall, Jacob Reyes was no longer just a boy who loved a horse. He was a federal witness, and the world he knew had shifted on its axis. 3 days later, the lab report landed. Centella's blood carried traces of Energy Max from her last pre-race injection. Marion's team uncovered the same stimulant in 3 other stables, a web that stretched across the circuit. But Brandon's lawyers fired back fast, leaking to the press that Jacob was a fired groom with a grudge and a fabricated story. That evening, a plain envelope slid under the Reyes door. Inside, cut-out letters spelled, "Drop the story, or else."
They think they can scare me into silence. But Centella's already paid enough. What if I am just a kid who's about to get crushed by men with money and lawyers?
I've seen a lot of folks in racing. Boy, the ones who matter, they know a horse don't lie, neither do you.
The next morning, Jacob slipped away to the quarantine barn. Centella stood in a sunbeam, her eyes soft and knowing.
You didn't give up on me, girl. I won't give up on you.
And in that quiet stall, the boy who'd been afraid found the steel he'd need for the fight to come. The investigation needed the veterinarian who'd signed every Energy Max log, but Dr. Elena Singer was refusing to talk.
I can't testify. The legal retaliation could destroy my clinic.
Jacob waited outside the side door of her practice, hands in his pockets, until she came out.
Dr. Singer, please. Centella is waiting, and I can't do this without you.
I signed those forms. I knew what I was doing. I can't undo it.
Do you remember Arden Sound? He died from an Energy Max overdose. There were 3 others. You know what it does.
She flinched at the names, her fingers curling around the file, as if it were a rope.
I'll do it. I'll testify. It's the only way I can look at myself again.
By evening, she had filed a sworn statement. Every detail of the doping, every signature, every order. The prosecution's case had a credible voice, but the hearing still hung on a knife's edge. By morning, a local tabloid screamed, "Fired groom faked doping evidence." Sources say Brandon's lawyers had fed the story overnight.
They're saying I stole from the tack room. They're calling me a liar.
For 3 days, reporters camped on the sidewalk. The phone rang with anonymous threats until they unplugged it. Leo Oakes came through the back gate with a paper bag of groceries and a face like stone.
They're trying to break you before the hearing, but I've known horses with more honor than those men.
I am going to testify. Even if they never believe me, Centella will know I tried.
That afternoon, Jacob walked to the edge of the camera line and raised his voice.
My name is Jacob Reyes. I was Centella's groom. I have evidence, and I will testify before the commission.
The cameras drank it in. A boy's face, steady in the storm, promised a reckoning. 2 days later, the commission announced a full disciplinary hearing. Jacob Reyes was called as the first witness. The hearing chamber was packed. Jacob took the witness chair, the manila folder resting on the table before him like an open wound.
I was her groom. I refused to give her Energy Max, so Brandon Hale fired me that afternoon.
Brandon's counsel leaned forward, his voice a slow knife. He painted Jacob as a vengeful ex-employee who fabricated evidence to destroy a man who'd let him go.
I didn't steal anything. Those records are real. I hid them because I couldn't let Centella die.
The questioning dragged on. Every night, detail twisted into a scheme. Jacob's voice wavered, but never broke.
Look at the clinic's signature. It matches. Energy Max is banned. She's not the only horse.
When the testimony ended, the panel chair raised a hand. We will retire to consider the admissibility of this evidence. The commissioners filed out, leaving the folder center stage and Jacob's heart hammering against his ribs. Outside the chamber, the press lined the hallway. The next hour would decide whether a boy's word would face the full weight of a hearing. The hearing reconvened. Dr. Elena Singer adjusted her glasses and laid a chart before the panel.
Energy Max is a beta-2 agonist banned in all 47 racing jurisdictions. It causes cardiac stress, pulmonary collapse, and death.
3 former grooms followed, each describing the same brown bottle and the same threats. But the 4th groom, a man with a wife and a mortgage, glanced at the defense table and his nerves snapped. He wavered, then recanted in a dry rush. He'd only seen a vitamin supplement. The gallery stirred. During recess, Jacob found the groom in a service corridor, hands shaking, staring at a payphone.
You saw what I saw. Don't let them bury Centella under another lie. Please.
The man's jaw clenched. A tear carved a track through the dust on his cheek. When the hearing resumed, the groom raised his hand and reasserted his original statement. Every word, under penalty of perjury, the case held by a thread. But in that room, a boy's quiet plea had pulled it back from the edge. Brandon's attorney rose for his closing, painting Jacob as a bitter, unemployed boy who'd manufactured a crusade out of spite. He dismissed the folder as stolen private property, the lab results as contamination, and the grooms as opportunists.
Before you is more than a folder. It is a graveyard of horses who never had a boy to fight for them. I urge this commission to act, not for the boy, not against the owner, but for the integrity of the sport.
Marion requested Jacob be allowed a final statement. The panel chair nodded, and the boy stood.
Centella raced on poison for 2 years. She carried her rider until he fell, and she carried the proof until it dropped. She doesn't deserve a needle. She deserves a field where she can just be a horse.
When he sat down, the chamber was so silent you could hear the scratch of a reporter's pen. The chair announced the commission would retire to deliberate. 5 officials rose and filed toward the heavy oak doors. Brandon Hale sagged in his seat. The man who'd bought everything stared at the door his money couldn't open. 90 minutes into deliberation, a commissioner slipped out and murmured to Marion, 3-2. We're deadlocked. Two federal agents in plain suits intercepted Marion in the marble hallway. They confirmed Energy Max shipments crossed state lines, a federal offense. They wanted to combine charges. In a holding room, Brandon Hale clutched a borrowed phone, his lawyer suddenly absent. Reyes, listen to me. I can wire you $50,000. Just tell them you made a mistake. Name your price.
You just made a mistake.
Jacob hung up and stared at the call log. The recording app had been running. He found Marion and pressed play. Brandon's voice filled the corridor. 50,000, name your price.
Witness tampering. This just became a federal case in front of the commission. Stand by, Jacob.
5 commissioners returned to their chairs. The deadlock was over. Brandon Hale had sealed his own fate. The commission chair rose and read the decision. Indefinite suspension for Brandon Hale and 3 co-conspirators, effective immediately. Brandon slumped forward, his face ashen. The empire he'd built on poison had collapsed in a single hour.
Centella will never race again. She'll be transferred to a protection sanctuary under commission order.
2 federal agents stepped forward and cuffed Brandon Hale's wrists behind his back. A photographer's flash froze the moment. Jacob watched from the gallery, his frame shaking. Tears carved tracks through the dust on his cheeks.
You done it, boy. You really done it.
By morning, the front page screamed, "Doping Scandal Rocks Racing Commission." A photo of the boy and his horse beneath the headline. Centella stood in a quarantine stall, a clean shipping halter on her head. Tomorrow, she'd leave for a place where no needle would ever touch her again.
Jacob Reyes, the commission has granted you protective witness status and permission to visit the sanctuary. She's waiting for you.
For the first time in 6 months, Jacob let himself believe. The horse had carried the truth, and the truth had carried him. 6 weeks after the hearing, Brandon Hale pled guilty in federal court. 10 years for interstate doping and witness tampering. The Racing Commission stamped its seal on a lifetime ban. Brandon Hale would never own or train another horse. Jacob Reyes sat in Marion Corbin's office for what she called a career conversation.
The commission would like to offer you a position, paid internship, college credit. You'd be safe, Jacob.
I don't want protection. I want to be with Centella. Let me work at the sanctuary.
I'll push it through. You've earned that right.
Within a week, the commission approved Jacob Reyes as legal guardian and head groom of the retired thoroughbred Centella. He packed the same worn duffel he'd carried the day he was fired and boarded a southbound bus. The bus wound through hills, past fields of green he'd only dreamed about during long nights in the stable. When the bus stopped, a hand-painted sign read, "Green Pastures, Holding." Jacob stepped off, his pulse a drumroll. Jacob walked into the long barn. Hay dust suspended in the afternoon light. In the farthest stall, a brown head rose, ears pricked forward.
Centella.
He ran the last steps and buried his face in her neck, sobbing into her warm coat.
I am here, girl. I am not leaving again.
A weathered hand rested on his shoulder. The sanctuary manager, a quiet woman in boots, watched them. Without ceremony, she offered him the head groom position. He could stay.
Yes, I'll do it.
Later, under a wide blue sky, they led Centella to the pasture. She walked through the gate and stood, sun pooling on her back.
You are safe now, girl. Just a horse.
And for the first time in over a year, the weight of the folder lifted from his chest. 3 years later, Jacob Reyes, older, wiry, still in boots, stood in a training pen with Centella's first foal, Esperanza.
Easy, Ronza. You've got your mother's heart.
At her first race, Esperanza broke slow, the crowd groaning, but she found a gear no drug could replicate. She sliced through the field and hit the line a neck in front, the finish camera flashing. Jacob stood alone at the rail, one hand pressed to his mouth, refusing to blink.
That's for you, Centella. She flies.
Back at the sanctuary, Centella grazed in the far pasture, as if she already knew. The trophy was small, a local maiden win, but its weight said otherwise. A horse that never won a race had produced a champion, and the boy who believed had become the trainer who delivered. The first of many, they said. but this one was enough. Jacob Reyes returned to the county track on an empty Tuesday. His fingers traced the splintered rail where his hands had gripped as a boy.
We did it, girl.
Behind him, a wall of framed headlines. 3 championships, all Centella's foals, trained by Jacob Reyes. Esperanza, Fe, Gloria, each name a pulse of the horse who never raced. He pulled his hand back, the wood warm against his palm. In a bright barn 100 miles away, a blue rosette hung beside a photograph of a boy and a horse.
That boy didn't know what he was starting, but he trusted.
And in the sanctuary pasture, an old mare raised her head, ears forward, as if she knew he was coming home. The boy who once gripped this rail with nothing but hope walked away from it. Now, with everything, he crossed the sanctuary pasture. As the sun dipped behind the barn, Centella lifted her gray muzzle from the grass. Ears pricked, she walked toward him, her old joints working, but her eyes bright. He rested his forehead against her white star, the same spot where he'd sobbed as a boy. Behind them, 2 foals chased each other, their manes catching the last light. Jacob closed his eyes and let the quiet hold him. A horse that never won a race gave a boy who never stopped believing the greatest victory of all. The sun slipped below the ridgeline, and the pasture turned to gold. They stayed there until the only sound was the soft breathing of horses, and in that twilight, a boy's promise became a man's peace.